This is going to go pretty quickly. I probably have a few more slides than uh, the time will allot, but all of the slides will be available for download as a PDF file. So if if I go over something too quick, you can always go back, and this is being recorded as well. So uh, if something seems to go by too fast, you can just always go back and re-listen to it and look at the slides one at a time. But yeah, this has become something of my retirement obsession. But let's see, let's go ahead and okay. We're just going to go over some of the basics, but there's also some details that I think are important. Um, iNaturalist is both a web-based program and an app for both PCs and iOS. Um, they both do slightly different things. Uh, and just so you know, if you use a combination of both, they don't necessarily always look the same, whether you're using iOS or Android or Mac. So I'm not going to spend any time on that, but there are sometimes differences. Okay, so it's a worldwide thing. Right now, there's almost 300 million observations worldwide. Um, Now, obviously, it's not going to be terribly useful if you can't narrow it down to a specific region. And so, out of the box, iNaturalist has drawn countries, and for the U.S., they've drawn these boundary files. Like they call these places. So they've done the U.S., and so we've got almost half of the observations in the world here in the U.S. Not quite, but almost. In South Carolina, we've got only 1% of the U.S. observations. We're still over a million. That's not bad. And they also do all of the counties. And that's very handy because the places that they draw are different than the ones we can upload places to these KML files, these Google KML files, but they don't behave in exactly the same way as the ones that they create. And when you look in there, the observations are they're either going to be these little push pins or they're going to be kind of fuzzy circles and they're color coded by taxon. So, for instance, if I wanted to look at the birds of Congaree National Park, I can. And you can see that almost all of them are push pins and they've got the little white dot on them, which means that they're what they call research grade, which means somebody has uploaded a bird, they've identified it, and at least two other people have come back behind you and said, yeah, we agree that that's a barred owl or a hermit thrush or whatever. I think a lot of people probably, at least beginning, will upload from their phone. And there's two things you can do there. If you're gonna upload directly from your phone, you need cell service. So you're not going to do this at Jones Gap, for instance. But you can take the photo, you can record the sound using just whatever camera app or recording app you have on your phone at the time, and it will fill in all of this information here: the date, the time, the location. Now, if you're in a place where you have no cell service, you can still take the pictures with your phone, and then once you get in an area where you have cell service, you can go ahead and pick those files and reload them. The only problem is, and it depends on your phone evidently, some of the metadata will not transfer over. So you may have to reload in the date and the time and location. This is kind of the standard information that every observation will have. You're gonna have your media, you're gonna have the ID, whether you but iNaturalist suggests an ID, and it's getting better all the time. It's actually very good. The date and the time, the location description, and a lot of times I will change that because the they come up with a location description that sometimes gibberish. You've got the latitude, longitude, and the accuracy or the estimated error, depending on uh, how you've recorded that information. Some apps and some programs don't record the accuracy. For instance, if you were to shoot it with your phone, most phones, if you upload it directly, they will the metadata for the accuracy will get uploaded. But if you take the picture and then upload it later, that metadata would be lost. So you'll get the latitude and longitude, but you won't get the accuracy usually. We've got geoprivacy. Um, that's basically private, which we're not going to talk about because that nobody can see those except the person who put them up there open. And then there's what they call obscured, and that's for things that are rare and endangered, or if have you do a lot of around your own location and you don't necessarily want everybody to know exactly where you saw those things, you can manually obscure them. We've got three kinds of data quality. We've got casual, which is captive cultivated, so zoo animals, cows, cornfields. Everything comes in as needs ID, and if you or someone else thinks that it's a domesticated dog, they will flag it as casual, and those will never get to be research grade. There's some people that would like that to change, but right now uh, there's no way to confirm the IDs for casual observations. Once you've loaded something, you can ask it to suggest an ID, and like I said, it does a pretty darn good job nowadays. Um, and then this was one that I thought was a little amusing. It's just a common water snake, and they said it was pretty sure it was this genus. Obviously not an Asian moccasin, but their top suggestion for the species was correct. Now, if you know what something is and they didn't suggest it, you can type in something. The only thing to keep in mind is if you do type something in, make sure that you select one of the ones that has the little pictures because those are the ones that are in the database. If you were to, you can just type in snakes and select the one with the leaf, but that they won't recognize that as a snake. And so anybody that wants to come back later and is just interested in IDing snakes won't see that one. Um, the Android version of the app will allow you to edit things, and I really encourage people to at least crop the pictures. We get lots and lots and lots of pictures of someone will say that there's a butterfly over here and take a look at it. And, you know, maybe it's a little speck on a leaf in the middle. So keep in mind that in order for this thing to go to research grade, a couple of people are going to have to come in behind you and say, yes, I agree that that's X, Y, and Z. If the picture isn't clear or if it's not big enough for them to see, it's likely that you may not be able to do that, at least not easily. The other way to, of course, upload it is from you can upload them to the web, and that does allow you to do some things that are a little easier to do than on the phone. One of the things you can do is if for instance I have several pictures of a single bird, I can select those 3 or 4 or whatever it is and hit combine, and that will easily just group those all together. So that will be a single observation. I can also just go in, select them all, and change the location description, which I really like to be able to do. Another big thing that is become really popular now is they do allow the recording of audio. Uh, I would say most people are recording birds, but there's frogs are popular as well as some insects. Um, I really like the BirdNet app for just general recording. It saves these as raw files, raw wave files, and I can set the gain manually, which is really handy. And I can share those files directly to iNaturalist. Excuse me. Merlin, of course, is very popular as well. Um, and there are now some automated recorders. I've been playing with this bird weather puck for about a year, taking it out into the field, and it actually, while not perfect, uh, it picks up some things that I never heard. And of course, nice thing is that I don't have to worry about trying to pay attention to what's calling out there because it's going to record it for me and concentrate on doing looking at other things. And just like pictures, it, it pays to have if you want pays to have the good quality sound. The one that's always been recommended to me was Audacity. It's free and it will do anything that you could possibly want to do for iNaturalist. Uh, the the biggest thing with that I see with sound is that people uh, have the volume set so low that you play the sound, and even if you have your volume turned all the way up, I can't hear anything. So if I can't hear it, I'm not going to be able to tell you whether I agree, or anybody's going to be able to tell you whether they agree. So if nothing else, if you've got the time and inclination, uh, it doesn't hurt to go ahead and just dump them into Audacity and maybe normalize the volume to -5, -8 dB. And that usually is good enough for uh, most recordings.
Hey Phil,
Okay,
can I ask a question real quick?
sure.
Okay, well, there was just one question. It says, is there an advantage to iNat Classic over the newer version of the app?
Well, the newest version is only for the iOS, as I understand it. And that's because the existing one had didn't have all the capabilities of the Android version. And the newest version is in beta testing right now. And so people are downloading it, testing it, but they've got a separate forum for that because it's still buggy. So at least for now, uh, I wouldn't touch it.
Okay, okay, all right, I appreciate it. And just real quick, there's almost 300 million observations, I think, around the world, if I remember correctly.
Right.
Who's using that data? I mean, are there universities, groups like Audubon or the United States Fish and Wildlife Service, DNR? Do you know off the top of your head who,
Oh,
really
absolutely.
benefits?
Uh, Absolutely. A lot of people are using that information. Uh, if you go on iNaturalist, they rightfully so will advertise the fact that how many scientific papers used iNaturalist data, or
Oh, okay, great.
and and certainly DNR uses that data. Uh, the National Park Service uses that data. Um, a lo-
Okay. No, that's
in some cases, it's uh, some people hold it in somewhat low regard because it is citizen science and a lot of the observations are misidentified, but uh, the experts can go in and verify it for them.
Right. No, I like that about iNaturalist. So, from a conservation standpoint, you're a conservationist whenever you're doing something like this, and we always encourage folks to participate and record that data. So just think that you're a part of, this huge global thing that folks are doing. So if you see something and you're interested, please submit it on iNaturalist. It's pretty cool that you're participating in citizen science and conservation. So I'll be quiet now, Phil.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing too is you don't have to. I mean, before I started using iNaturalist, I couldn't have told you one mushroom from another, but uh, they're easy to photograph. They don't run away. Don't need to get a tutorial on mushrooms in flight, uh, uh, but there are a lot of people that are really interested in mushrooms, and they'll come back with IDs, and so a lot of people seem to find those useful. Okay, for this, it's all incumbent on having the location, and if you've got a device that doesn't record latitude and longitude, you can manually locate all your pictures, um, or if you can, or better yet, if you can geotag them from your phone. And even if you use the GPS on your phone or your camera, you can go back in later and actually move those observations. So, for instance, here's Lynch's River, and we'll briefly touch on this bounding box later. But as you can see, it's got a KML file, polygon that was drawn, um, and you can see that there's the different color taxa, and some of them have the little white dot, means those are research grade, and some of them are not. Um, Here's somebody that uh, had 13 observations with 10 species on one day, and he put it in the middle of the road with a small accuracy circle. Not ideal, but it's at least it's all those observations now are in that project for Lynch's River. Here's someone else that did essentially the same thing with 13 observations, but they made a much bigger observation circle. And that's generally what they recommend, is that you put them all in the park, and then you make the accuracy circle as big as where you think you would have been during that day. Um, no big deal. There's lots of different ways to get GPS. Uh, most phones have that capability. Some smaller the cameras. Uh, they seem to be getting away from putting it in the cameras now, but some of you can actually buy external GPSs. The old school way was you would do a data log from your Garmin, and you take the photos, dump them both into your PC or Apple, and there's programs out there that will will put the latitude and longitude into the metadata of the photos. The other way now that seems to be very popular is, since camera companies are not putting GPSs in their cameras, is they have apps. Olympus or OM Share, OM Systems now has an app where you record the data log, and it will put that data into the metadata of the pictures after you're done for the day. But some of it, Canon and Nikon, they actually have apps where they are continuously connected to the camera and loading that data as you go. And that works in most cases good enough. The only thing to keep in mind when you're geotagging is that they're not as accurate as you might think. This this guy did a quick study of Android phones, and he found that a third of the time your actual location was outside of the accuracy circle that was downloaded, was calculated. And this is, I think, the other thing too that most people don't seem to understand is that when you're geotagging your photos, the location is not the location of the subject. It's the location of the GPS receiver, namely you. So if the subject is very far away, you will almost the little push pin in the accuracy circle will not include the subject. And it's only things that are close to you that are likely to fall within that accuracy circle. Yeah, this is just a little hint, and you can read this from the slides later. But so, for instance, here's a big tree out in the field. Someone took a picture of it with, I think it was their phone, and it has a 50-meter accuracy circle, but the tree still isn't even included in that accuracy circle in the observation. And one of the consequences of that, I think that you could probably understand, is that if 20 people were to take a picture of that tree from a distance, from all different locations, when you look at iNaturalist, you're going to see a whole bunch of southern red oaks, when in fact there's only one. And when we're all done with this, I'll show you the kind of my favorite one is the angel oak down in the James Island. If you look at the park for that one, there's only one angel oak, but there's like 50 observations, and they're all over the place, which makes sense because no two people were standing at the same location when they took a picture of it. The other one, of course, that's really common is uh, things like birds. Observation was taken on a deck, but the bird itself was on this snag way out in the pond. So while you'll have the push pin and the accuracy circle does indicate where the person was standing when he took that picture, it's not the location of the nest.
But and Phil, you're saying that you can actually move that pin?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And and I try to for a lot of those kinds of things, um, especially for things like if I'm on the shore of a lake or something and it's a duck or something, I will try to move those observations at least out into the lake.
Okay.
Yeah, you
Okay.
can. Yeah, yes, you can absolutely move them afterwards.
Okay. Okay, good. Good.
Um, Another consequence of that, of course, is here's Lee State Park, and if you look at they got this road trail, and I filtered on the birds here, and you can see that all of the birds are following along the road. Well, if you actually look at the observations, it should become pretty obvious that those birds were not actually on the road. Like that great egret, he was not on the road. But at least you get an idea of that's where the people were standing when they saw that egret. Okay, the geoprivacy is an important aspect of this. Everything goes in, unless it's been automatically flagged by iNaturalist as rare and endangered, as open, which means anybody can see it. Obscured, there's two ways that that happens is either it's a rare and endangered species, or if you just don't want to let people know where you saw it. And a lot of people, like some of the butterfly people, don't like to let people know exactly where they saw something. And private, not even going to talk about it. It's nobody can see it except the person who downloaded it. Uh, so we've got the two categories here. If you look at an observation that's open, you get the little push pin and an accuracy circle if it's been recorded. If it's obscured, they generate behind the scenes a box, and in South Carolina, it's 2 degrees of latitude and longitude, so it's about 18 by 22 kilometers in South Carolina. And so they generate a box and then they move it. So when you see a little fuzzy box, you know that it's in there somewhere. So for instance, they've automatically obscure all of the box turtles because evidently they're concerned that the turtle trade will take them all. So if you go in and search on box turtles in the map, all you're going to see is a bunch of fuzzy circles. So yes, there's a lot of box turtles, but you will never know from iNaturalist exactly where they are.
And iNaturalist does that automatically for a species like that, or you have to
No,
obscure it?
they do that one automatically.
Okay, good, good. Are there any other animals here in South Carolina that you can think of where they do that?
I can't think of anything offhand, but they do it for a lot of plants, which actually is probably more important.
Okay, okay. No, that's really good that they do that automatically. That's pretty cool.
I mean, even things like the Coney Bell. Everyone knows there's Coney Bells at Devil's Fork. They heck, they advertise it. But if you put an observation of an Coney Bell from uh, Devil's Fork, it will be automatically obscured.
Great.
Not because it's rare Devil's Fork, but because it is. And if you want to see what kinds of things are actually obscured, you can tack onto the end of the Explore URL. Taxon is equal to geoprivacy is equal to obscured. So, and it will tell you which ones have been obscured, but it won't necessarily tell you which ones were automatically obscured and which ones uh, were done
Manually.
manually.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Uh, like I said, all observations go in as needs ID. If somebody thinks it's captive cultivated, a zoo animal, a cow, cornfield, it will get flagged as that. And those won't show up in the default projects. I always include them, but they will never go to research grade. So even if somebody agrees with your identification, it'll never go to research grade. Uh, Once you've downloaded it, if at least 2 out of 3 identifiers say that, yeah, we agree that that's what it is, uh, then it gets the little research grade.
Sorry, Phil, if you have, you're really excited about something that you say and you think it's rare, is there a way to kind of request more, views and request for an identification, or are you just kind of at the mercy of whoever sees your post?
You can ask for every taxa, there's a group of people that are known identifiers, but no, generally you're just at the mercy of people. Uh, Whenever the experts get around to looking at it, and it varies by group. I mean, if there is a really dedicated group of people that will identify any birds before you even hit the enter key. Um, Butterflies, you can usually get those identified really quickly. Plants, especially if it's some obscure group that isn't widely popular, you may or may not they may not get identified or go to research grade for years.
Okay. Okay.
So this is just a quick example here. Osage orange, not native to South Carolina, but most of them have not been as flagged as casual, even though most of them probably were planted by people. And the only one that was tagged as casual was the one that's up at the South Carolina Botanical Gardens. And some things like heavily bamboo. This is at Charlestown Landing. 2 of them are a research grade, and so they may have been getaways, but one of them was tagged as casual. So again, if you looked at the project for Charlestown Landing, the default project would not show you the casual one, but it will show you the 2 research grade ones. So again, back at Charlestown Landing, these are all the ones that are casual, and of course the zoo animals and all the camellias and heavenly bamboo, some of the camellias. And to my way of thinking, if it's in the park, I want to see it. Uh, Especially if there's an insect pest that all of a sudden starts like eating camellias for some reason. I'd like to know the insect would probably not be tagged as casual, but I'd like to be able to at least see all the plants that are there, whether man put them there or not. Here's an example of I put up a eastern crane fly. That's an easy one. 2 people popped in and said, uh, yeah, we agree. That's a eastern crane fly. And once it gets to the 2 out of 3, it gets the little research grade flag, and you also get at least on the Android version, you get a little box up in the corner that says RG. Okay, if you want to look at a region, there's really 2 ways to do that. You can create uh, a Google KML file polygon and upload it into iNaturalist. And these are not as functional as the ones that iNaturalist had created, but you can also, if you just want to quick look, you can use what they got custom boundaries. The backgrounds, you can get Google Maps, satellite, and on a PC, and I don't know about a Mac, but not the apps. They've also added OpenStreetMap. So if you go into Explore, I can either pick a square or a circle and move it around wherever I want, make it as big or as small. Uh, and it's just a screenshot of what's in that circle. So you see some obscured observations, but those obscured observations are almost certainly not in that circle. Okay, and this is probably the one that bites a lot of people that they don't seem to understand. When you create a place, which is the yellow area, in the background, they're creating what they call a bounding box. And so in order for an observation to show up in a collection project, the latitude and longitude have to be in the yellow area, but the accuracy circle can't break that bounding box, which means that observations real close to the bounding box might get kicked out, whereas ones in the middle, I'll show you here real quickly. Like I said, all these slides will be available. You can read through these in more detail. But so here's 4 observations, all taken in that place. In that, uh, on the far left here, you've got an observation and moderate accuracy circle, but it was close to the edge where the bounding box was. I've got one here that, another moderate one, but it all fell. The latitude and longitude was there, and the accuracy circle was there. Here's one with a huge accuracy circle, but because of the geometry of the place, it didn't break the bounding box. And the 4th one up here in the upper right, even the latitude and longitude are not necessarily accurate. So if you're standing right on the edge of a place, it is possible that even if you had small accuracy, the latitude and longitude would fall outside of the place. So both things have to match in order for an observation to show up in a collection project. Here's an example of an obscured observation. If you look, I got an arrow to that little reddish dot there. This is Francis Marion National Forest. So you can see that it's somewhere in that big box where it overlaps with the park itself, with the forest itself. But you have no idea of knowing where in that it's located. If you're going to draw places, I strongly recommend that you don't go too crazy with trying to draw them accurately. A lot of people try to draw them right from the Google Maps, but if you look in the satellite view, you can see that you've lost most of the shoreline and you're losing a lot of observations. Quick example, Dreher Island. The one on the left is mine. I give myself plenty of latitude so that in the hopes of picking up as many observations as possible. And I'm perfectly comfortable that nothing's getting included that wasn't seen at Dreher Island. Whereas if you go with the other version, you're losing lots and lots and lots of observations. At the time of this, I had 965, they had 775.
And Phil, are you saying those are just usually used for projects?
Yes, collection projects. And I'll show you that here in just a second, because that's when you create a project. For instance, if I wanted to do the birds of Dreher Island, I have to specify a place, one of these little KML files. And I'll show you that here in a second.
And who would you recommend, or who would you recommend, start a project? Can anybody do it, or is it usually?
Absolutely anybody can. Anybody can draw a place, and anybody can, whatever it is you're interested in. Yeah, anybody can create projects. Before you do draw a place, though, it doesn't hurt to at least see if somebody hasn't already done it, because you can use, once you've uploaded a place, it becomes essentially community property. So if I wanted to do one on the dung beetles of Kings Mountain State Park, I could use one of the existing places. And you can do that by zooming in on the area and hitting places of interest, and it'll show you all of the places that have already been drawn. Or you can go to the more and type in keywords and see which other places have been already previously created. And then once you've done that, you can go to that place page and it will tell you which projects have been generated from that place. So I use Google My Maps for creating places. And if it's in regrid, I can actually download that KML file and tweak it. And you could even do things like excluded central area if you want. And then you just upload it to iNaturalist. Give it a name, give it a place. And it's got to be in Google's KML files. There's lots of different programs out there that will allow you to create those, but uh, Google My Maps is free and it seems to work just fine for everything I've ever needed to do. This one, I think you need to probably look at this one later, but um, they do have the ability, what they call explore, and the problem it's if you just look at it, you might think that you can only do one taxa, one project, one place, but the URL itself is actually a search, and you could actually go in and edit it. So this example down below, uh, I would encourage you to maybe type this in and see what it accomplishes. If you want to do a really sophisticated uh, search with a lot of parameters like this, for instance, I would actually encourage you to create a collection project of your username, and it will allow you to do things like I can include multiple places, I can exclude multiple places, I can include multiple taxa. So I've got a collection project with my username, and if I wanted to know what red-spotted animals are in North Carolina, South Carolina, but exclude the red-spotted purples, I can do that very easily. Or I can do it in Explorer by editing the actual URL. And like I said, it might not hurt to take a look at that slide in detail and try it. There's 3 project types: traditional, collection, umbrella. Um, the collection of projects and the umbrella projects are the main ones, and then they've got a link down there. It's not obvious for traditional projects. So collection projects, you have to select a place, one of those KML files, but you can also select taxa, exclude taxa. So for instance, if I wanted to do a collection project of the birds of Huntington Beach, I could just type in birds, Huntington Beach, hit enter. Now an umbrella project doesn't allow you to do any of those kind of fancy edits. All you're doing is you're just doing a collection of traditional projects. And I'll show you an example of that in a second. Um, if you're searching for a project, the only thing I would suggest is that you don't try to spell it out too carefully. For instance, if I wanted to look at Carolina butterflies, you could try spelling that all out, but if you misspell one letter, or if their project was plural butterflies instead of butterfly, um, it's better to just go ahead and, for instance, butterfly, Carolina butterflies, I could do Carol butter. That will get you there, and that will get you there before trying to do too much. Okay, traditional project. This is one where you say, it's Roper Mountain up here in Greenville. Little blue circle is the park. And what they want people to do is when you visit, you upload an observation. But of course, unless you put rules on that, people just go ahead and upload observations that have no bearing whatsoever on Roper Mountain. I did create them a collection project. And the other advantage for the collection project is you don't even have to know that it exists for those observations to show up in it. A good use of a traditional project is SCAN uses iNaturalist for generating species lists for their field trips. And initially, this was open to everybody. And of course, we were flooded with observations that had nothing to do with SCAN and nothing to do with the field trips. So I deleted all those people and made it an invitation only. And so this is a good use for a traditional project because it's not tied to a place. It's just if you went on the trip, you upload those observations to this project. So here's a typical collection project. Uh, I've selected all tags except humans. Croft State Park is the place. Uh, research grade needs ID and casual data quality. And like I said, I created this one for the Cross State Park, and you know, anybody can do it. Now, an umbrella project is not filtered on anything specific, but it's all of this one is all of the state park projects, all of the state park collection projects. I think I'm up to 52 of them now. There's 49 regular projects and a couple of extra ones. So, um, as you can see, and I think we're up to over 92,000 observations right now in state parks, but you can select any one of those parks from this leaderboard and see which observations are actually in Huntington Beach or Myrtle Beach.
Phil, Phil, just a quick question about the state parks. Are they promoting this or advertising it for folks that are visiting? It's just such a great way to record data.
Unfortunately, no. I've been trying for years to get them to do something with it. I've had absolutely no success.
Uh, okay, okay.
Um, I the latest message from there was one of the messages from that they posted on their website from the newest superintendent did mention it, but no, they don't promote it. They don't, and I think that's kind of a mistake. But maybe
Yeah,
one.
no, I agree, and I don't know, maybe that's a nudge that we could give them too. I just think it's such a great idea for families, to get out and explore together, and that's a great place to do it since families are usually at state parks. So I was
Well,
just kind of
especially
curious. I appreciate it.
well, let's see, and I'm an ultimate outsider. There's a little program for you visit every park and you get a stamp. And so I generated this as kind of a go along for that, a companion for that. So you go and you go to a park, get your stamp, and then you go and make some observations. But like I said, so far nothing.
Okay.
Um, obscured observations, if you trust the curator of the project, you can give them permission to see uh, the actual physical location, the actual location of obscured observations. Uh, that happens automatically with traditional projects because you deliberately added your observations to their project. Now, with collection projects, when you join that project, it asks you if you want to allow them. So, for instance, you'll get this screen. This is if you join this one, and it says, "Do you want to receive noted journal notifications if something gets added, or do you want to trust this project with hidden coordinates?" So it's up to you if you want to do that. You can edit observations on the web, uh, and it's a little easier than doing it on the phone. You can do a few more things, um, including batch editing, whole bunches of observations based on you can filter on all kinds of things, and then batch editing. Um, and that's a really handy thing to be able to do that you can't do on the apps. Um, and the other thing you can do too is once you've used Explorer to filter on some, you can actually download these. And that's one of the things Scan does is uh, we'll filter on the day of the trip and then download it as a CSV file for the flora and fauna list for that particular trip. Um, every level, every taxa, every place, every project has a ID number. And it, in some cases, depending on what you're trying to do, it's really handy to be able to find out what that ID number is. So again, this is probably another one that you want to look at the slide in detail, but this will tell you how to find the ID number for places, projects, taxa, and there are certain circumstances where that's really handy to be able to uh, know those things. I've created probably several hundred projects now. There's no good way to tabulate them, so I created a simple collection project and I put links to all of the ones that I've created, and you can actually search by the project number, the 170543, and it's links to all of the state parks, all of the state forests, national wildlife refuges, DNR heritage reserves, wildlife management areas, um, and a whole bunch of the local parks, everything from like the Swamp Rabbit Trail to all kinds of parks in Columbia and Charleston. But you'll see if you go to there and look at that. Um, this project, if you want to see what's possible, this is probably the project I would look at first, and go to the project journal because I have created a whole bunch of uh, filtered projects for the state park. So, for instance, there's projects for the birds of every single park, the plants of every single park. Um, I've got collection projects for things like mushrooms, shells, butterflies, and filters on that allows you to go and look at each individual park. The other thing too that one of the reasons why you might want to get the ID numbers is there's a way to generate a query. This is, for instance, this is all of my observations in state parks. And you'll notice that all of the places, those are place ID numbers. So you have to know what the place ID numbers is to use this. And I've got this list in the project journal. So you can take that same query, and at the very end, it has the user ID. You can replace my name with yours and see how many observations and how many species you've seen in all of the state parks. But you can create one of these place detail queries for any group of places.
Phil, is it more beneficial for scientists or for somebody to submit their observations, through something like this, like through one of the projects? Or is that information used more or seen more by the scientists that are trying to get the data? Should they do that rather than just, walk around and just kind of
Well, no,
report observations?
the collection projects don't require any input from you. If there's a place drawn, like for instance, Paris Mountain State Park, if there's a place and I go to Paris Mountain and I make an observation in Paris Mountain, it will automatically show up in there whether I know that that project exists or not. I
Okay.
don't have to do, I don't have to do anything.
Okay. Okay, good.
Um, and so the only one that requires uh, any concerted effort on the part of the observer is the traditional project. You actually have to pick the observations and say move it to that project. But the collection projects, um, I was going to, let's see if I can do that here real quick. Um, oh, okay. Can you see the slide? The
Yeah, the Southern Live Oak.
Yes. Okay. This was the one that I was trying to tell you about. Um, it, I've filtered on Southern Live Oak, which of course is the Angel Oak. And if you look at the observations, it's all the live oak, it's all the Angel Oak. But if you look at the map, you can see that if you didn't know any better, you'd think that there was 75 angel oaks there. That'd be kind of crazy. But what you can do here real quick, try not to run over here. Um, here's my one on state parks, and in the project journal, I've got projects filters on birds, bugs, introduced animals, introduced plants, trees, wildflowers, mushrooms. So like for instance, if you're into mushrooms, you can select mushrooms, and this is all of the mushrooms in all of the state parks. Now, if I wanted to then see if I wanted to narrow it down, instead of making this an umbrella project, I've got uh, filtered on the various parks as a sort. So for instance, here's Caesar's Head. Okay, so these are the ones that were found in Caesar's Head.
That's really neat.
Um, but I've got them, and I've also broken them down by EPA ecoregions. So for instance, uh, EPA ecoregion 66 is the Blue Ridge Mountains. And so I've included all of the parks that would normally fall within that ecoregion. So you can see what observations are in all of the parks in the mountains. And since this is a project, what I can do is I can go into Explore, and let's just say I want to go butterflies, and I want to look at just those EPA ecoregion parks. So I could go in and just type in EPA South Carolina 66, and there's the state parks. Hit that, hit enter, and now I'm only looking at the butterflies of South Carolina state parks in the mountains.
Yeah, I didn't know you could narrow it down to such a fine search. That's really neat to know.
Yeah, and like I said, you could do this. The other thing too you can do is I'm going to quick show you one other thing here. We've got the let's get rid of this one here. So I've done a sort here now. I've got the butterflies of South Carolina. I can update that search. And let's say I wanted to add North Carolina. Well, just using Explorer, you wouldn't necessarily know that you could actually add additional places. But I can actually, if you look at the URL, it says the place ID is 43. I can actually go right into that URL, put comma 30, which is North Carolina, and hit enter. And now I've got North Carolina and South Carolina. So you can edit that URL from Explorer to add stuff, delete stuff, add multiple taxa, exclude taxa.
Yeah, no, that's great. And you know, as we near 1 o'clock here, would you mind answering a couple questions that are in the chat?
No, go ahead.
Okay. One is, can you share about the kid-friendly Seek version of iNaturalist? Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, and it's kind of a stripped down version of iNaturalist. And I generally don't recommend people using it too much because the AI is not as good. And so usually if you upload a picture and get it to iNaturalist to ID it, you don't have to save it. You don't have to actually upload it and save it. And that's usually the concern that most people have with the kids stuff, is that they don't want to know where kids are looking or are necessarily have a separate account, but I haven't really played too much with that. Actually, I haven't played with it at all.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I never really even thought of it from a safety standpoint, but I didn't even know there was a kid-friendly version. But and then there's another question. It says, what information is best to include in my profile, and do I respond when someone agrees with my observation? There's also some more, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I guess as a minimum, I guess I would, if you have any specialized knowledge, or I would go ahead and put that in there. And people can contact you anonymously through their messaging app. So it doesn't show you. So, for instance, here's a. Uh, so if and what you'll also get, you get notification if somebody agrees with your observation. You will get notifications. Let's see. Doesn't like my. But for instance, I've got some observations here, and when you first log in, it will actually tell you who has. Um, See if I can't do this. Okay, so here's people I'm following, and people, if so, for instance, here's one of my cormorants, and uh, Harris decided he agreed with my idea that that was a double-crested cormorant. But every time somebody makes an identification or agrees with you, you will get a notification. And there's really nothing to do. It's just nice to know, especially if they disagree with you. I mean,
Well, I mean, can it start a conversation? Can you go back and forth, even if it's a simple thank you or, say something, well, I really do think that this shows, I mean, can you engage in a conversation with them or
oh,
no?
absolutely.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, it's as a matter of fact, that's kind of what you have to do if somebody disagrees. Usually, if somebody disagrees, the real experts will tell you why they disagree.
Okay.
They'll tell you, well, this feather is X, Y, and Z, or this leaf is serrate and instead of smooth around the edges or whatever. But yeah, they will usually tell you. And if you disagree, you can certainly go back and push back on it. And
Yeah.
well, yeah,
Okay.
that's but yeah, it's you do get notifications of all your observations.
And if you're on there and you tend to communicate with someone or you see someone, commenting on your post, can you friend somebody? You can follow somebody, I think I heard you
Yes.
say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, especially I have a small handful of people that will make a lot of observations of the kinds of things I'm interested in, and yes, I will follow them. And as a matter of fact, I will get notifications of their observations when they post stuff, which is pretty
Oh,
handy.
okay. Oh, yeah, that's super cool. Okay, good. And I think the second part of that question is let's see, are there different levels of users? For example, experts in certain fields or based on number of observations?
Yeah, they have curators um, but unless you want to really do a deep dive into get really involved. Um, I'm just a regular member, and I can do pretty much anything I would ever care to do. But yeah, there are experts in particular groups that are identified as experts in that particular group. But that doesn't mean that just because you're not one of the recognized experts that you can't go in and identify something.
Sure. Okay. And then the final question I see is how do you friend on iNaturalist, or I don't know if friending is the same as following, or if there's if there's a difference, but is that something that you can just kind of walk through?
Let's see. Let's think. I think what you have to do, and I haven't done it for a long time, is you search on a name and then you go into your profile and you follow them. Let's see.
You can put my name on there if you want. I don't know if it's just under J Keck or what, but or Allison's. Oh, Allison's is just buggin, Buggin. Yep. Just buggin.
Okay. Is it just bugging or just bugging?
I think buggin, Buggin.
Okay. It's not finding there.
Just in the front.
And with just in the front, Just. Is it a space in between? Okay, so it's Justbuggin, no space in between the T and the B.
No underscore.
Yeah, no underscore, no space in between the T and the B.
Okay.
But no space between the just and the buggin. It's just
Oh,
one. Yeah, there you go. Let's see if that pulls it up. There you go.
okay. All right. So, uh, yeah, she's not following anybody, but uh, see, I can see where I'm pointing to.
Yes.
It says follow just bugging.
Yes.
Okay, so if I hit that, I'm now following her.
She doesn't have to approve you to follow her or anything. You just follow her.
I Right. She doesn't have to approve it or anything. It's just now if if somebody starts following you and they annoy the crap out of you, you can block them.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. Okay, well that's easy enough. And you can do this. I know you're on your desktop right now, but I mean you can do this through your app too on your smartphone.
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. I hope that helps, Gene. Anything else before we kind of end the webinar here, Phil?
No, like I said, I would really encourage people to there's a lot of little details in the slides, and so um, once this thing gets, I guess you guys are recording this and going to put it up on YouTube. But so if uh, maybe watch it later and actually read through the some of the slides because there's some of them are fairly detailed, not all of them, but some of them. And it's probably not a bad resource.
Yeah, we do have it recording, and we'll pop it on our YouTube page, and we will send out a link to all the folks that signed up for this class, so they can take a peek at it and explore it as they want to. So yeah, I appreciate it, and I'd encourage folks to just get out and explore. It's really cool, especially with kids, to show them the capabilities of iNaturalist and know what something is, and then just kind of connect the dots of how things fit into the ecosystem. It's just super cool. And I think it can really open up eyes. And then at the same time, you're contributing to citizen science, which I think is pretty awesome. So. Phil, seeing a few thank yous, so I appreciate you doing this. We all do. SCWF, thanks you, and maybe we'll see you out in the field one day on a in the field tutorial at some point, huh?
Yeah, sure.
All right, Phil. Well, have a great day. Thanks everybody for taking the time to join us, and we'll send this email out to everybody, soon.